Hey everybody, welcome back to Chalk Talk, presented by Bearmail, the show where we talked with sports marketing leaders who share their email marketing and SMS wins one play at a time, all with the goal to help you, the listeners, grow fan engagement and ticket sales. I'm your host, Chris Behrens. I'm the founder and CEO of Bearmail, where we help professional sports teams sell and engage more fans through personalized email and SMS marketing solutions. After spending the last decade of my career helping professional sports teams off the field drive better outcomes with email and SMS, I wanted to give back to the community by connecting with marketing leaders in the sports industry to help them share their stories, what's working, what isn't, and what really moves the needles for their email and SMS programs. Today, I have the awesome privilege of talking with Justin Price, Senior Manager, Multichannel Marketing at the Milwaukee Bucks. In his current role, Justin oversees the email marketing program and SMS marketing programs for a variety of brands and looks to always find the best way to connect and engage with fans across channels. Justin has been with the Bucks for the last 7 years, rapidly rising through the ranks, always with a focus on email marketing. Justin, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Glad to be a part of this conversation. As you mentioned, I've been with the Bucks for just had my 7-year anniversary, actually.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Thanks. Appreciate it. But I've been in the marketing space for coming up on almost a decade now. So time is definitely flying, learning a lot, having a lot of fun along the way.
That's fantastic. I love it. I've been super excited to chat with you. I know you have a really deep background in marketing and specifically email and sports combined together. It's a pretty small niche in the grand scheme of things. So would love to have you tell the listeners about your background in email, how you ended up at the Bucks, and what your role looks like today.
Yeah, so I can take you all back all the way to 2016. So I was started out as an email developer for a marketing agency. And that was really where I learned the crux of what email marketing looked like for a business. So we were working on behalf of a wide array of different clients, but I was building out campaigns using an HTML editor to code the emails. It seems like very archaic even to say that out loud, but building out all the emails, learning about responsiveness, fonts, CSS, HTML, all of what makes an email an email. So did that for about 2 years, used different enterprise solutions, learned about segmentation, audience building, using dynamic content based on a person's criteria. And again, that was the building blocks that led me to the Bucks. So after 2 years of working as an email developer, moved over to the Bucks in an email marketing specialist role. So building out campaigns on a day-to-day basis for all of our different brands, Bucks, Bucks Pro Shop, Pfizer Forum, our G League affiliate, really every entity under our umbrella, I was supporting and still am supporting from an email marketing standpoint. And that could be promotional campaigns. So if we have tickets we need to move for a certain game, building out campaigns, then also operational campaigns. So if someone needs to know more information about their ticket membership, sending out announcements and updates to that certain subset of people. So that was really getting my, I would say, boots on the ground and really understanding what it means to market for a sports franchise. And just beyond email communication, was building out forms, landing pages. I would say anything direct digital marketing centric. I was working on that for a large portion of my time here with the Bucks. And then over the past few years, I would say we definitely have evolved and taken a more omni-channel approach. So a little over 2 years ago, we launched SMS for the Milwaukee Bucks and Bucks Pro Shop for the first time ever. And now I would say we've grown the channel immensely. It's a huge tool when it comes to trying to drive ticket sales, merchandise sales, but even now we're starting to see a lot of sales come from SMS in relation to ticket memberships, just because we're driving leads off of what people are doing when they get a text message from us. So again, over the past few years in my role now, senior manager of multi-channel marketing, whereas right after being a specialist became email marketing manager, it's definitely evolved, and we're thinking a lot more about the full very cliche 360 view of the fan, but it's true because you want to understand what fans are doing in different channels, but then you also want to understand what channel is the right one to reach them at a certain period of time. And we're starting to really like foray into that arena of, again, a full scale and holistic approach to what we do from a marketing standpoint.
I love that. That's a fantastic journey. Thanks for sharing, Justin. I love in particular that you had a singular focus on email and understanding all the components it takes to get a campaign out the door, to now having a really broader lens around how one channel can really impact what the full fan experience looks like. So having that perspective in terms of how you coordinate messaging across what the fan experience looks like is hugely important, because one, fans expect it, and also two, it drives better outcomes for your business at the end of the day. You're going to drive more ticket sales. You're going to drive better fan engagement. If that message looks consistent, you say, here's Justin, here's what he looks like across channels, here's how I'm going to engage with him depending on how he's responding. So I love that approach. That's fantastic. So
yeah, 1000%.
Yeah. So you've been in the email space for quite a while. I'm sure you've seen some great campaigns, and I'm sure you've seen some dud campaigns along the way. From your perspective, what really makes great email marketing come to life?
I would say first and foremost, the creative. Like that to me, just because in this day and age, everything that we experience on a day-to-day basis is so visual, whether it's what you see on social media, what you see when you're watching television, whether it's a commercial or even like the show itself. I feel like so much is so visual. And to me, what makes an email campaign stand out is the visual component. So it's the headline, it's the imagery, it's potentially the copy beneath the imagery, and using all of that to capture someone's attention. Because as you know, we're in an economy now where like attention is currency. So you need to be able to capture people's attention, but not only capture it, but capture it quickly, because we're so used to scrolling, moving on to the next thing. Attention span just continues to dwindle. So I think it's important to capture someone's attention right away. Like always, like thinking of as like the 10 seconds or less rule. Like if we can't capture someone's attention in 10 seconds or less once they open the email, then we probably should rethink, or at the very least retool the next campaign. Because again, it's all about attention, especially too in our business when our season is over. Like there isn't as much, I would say, demand just because we aren't playing. Whereas in season, it's just heightened demand because I mean we're playing 82 games, regular season, preseason, playoffs. So it's just keeping that in mind, and that's what I think stands out for a campaign. And I think too, this is not necessarily visual, but the audience you're sending to, because I think a lot of what can drive the success of a campaign is the who. Now, the day-to-day person, they're not seeing who we're targeting, but if they're getting the right messaging and it's messaging that resonates with them, then obviously there's a better chance that they will engage. But that's our job to understand, okay, we're sending out this campaign via email. We're talking about these memberships. Who are the people we should target? Is it people who've purchased something? Is it people who have engaged with something that's similar? And that's really, I feel like there's almost even like a subjectivity related to it, because it's just like the feeling that you get. But then there's also an objectivity of, okay, these people sat in these seats at this time. Let's target them with this communication.
That makes perfect sense. And you really touched on one of my favorite truisms about email, is that ever since I've been working in email, it's largely been the same objective, which is right message, right person, right time. And you touched on right message and right person in particular as what you feel like makes great email marketing. And touching on the visual components, has there been anything that has been particularly successful when it comes to capturing that attention? Like you said, it's so critical to think about capturing attention quickly, because
Right.
when you think about a consumer's inbox, a fan's inbox, they have 100 promotional email messages a day, and they
Right.
may have, between 5 and 10 seconds they're spending on them maximum. So you hit
Yeah.
the nail on the head with that approach.
Yeah. So like I think it boils down to like just keeping in mind, like put yourself in that fan's shoe, and you know for a fact when you get bombarded with communication, you're boom, boom, boom. Like I need to move on to the next thing. And I just think it boils down to just that, like keeping the fan first when you are building out campaigns. So one thing that we actually saw, we had built our email campaigns out in a certain way for a pretty long time, but a few seasons ago, as a result of trying to deal with campaigns where we needed to be a lot more quick turn, so it was beneficial for us because we wanted to be more efficient, but it actually ended up being a lot more beneficial for the consumer as well, because the email was a lot easier to scan. So when we changed up our approach, went a lot more creative heavy versus copy heavy, we saw easily a 2 times lift in engagement just by changing up the approach. That, I mean, for the longest it was status quo, but I'm glad we kind of broke away from just that idea, because if it's more engaging for the fan, then that's ultimately, I think that's the best business decision that someone can have.
Completely. I love that. Bite-sized storytelling is so critical in the email space. And
Mhm.
ultimately, as email marketers, oftentimes we're really trying to sell that click in the email experience versus
Right.
having them spend a significant amount of time reading through copy and
Yep.
storytelling. There's always a place for that. But when it comes to, an 82 game season for an NBA team, there's always a new story. There's always some bite-sized nugget you
Exactly.
can introduce to a fan to really get them to engage and learn more if they're ready for that moment. So I love that approach. That's
Yeah,
great.
and I agree, especially because not only are we battling other teams, other sports, and like other entertainment around the area, we're battling media outlets who may not even be seen as the traditional ones. So the ESPNs, TNTs of the world, like we're battling people that create Facebook groups and people who create blogs in their free time, and that's all. Everything is noise. So trying to cut through the noise and keeping that in mind, I feel like it helps us stay on a cutting edge so that we don't just get sucked into, oh, we're the Bucks, we're the beloved brand. People will come because we built it. It doesn't necessarily work that way.
I love that perspective. And I love that you acknowledge that there's all of this noise in the sports media space around specific teams, whether it's
Yep.
team blogs or, national media outlets covering your team, because ultimately fans consume information in a variety of different ways when it comes to
Correct.
following their teams. And so when you think about the role of the content the professional sports team plays out, the advantages they have is that, one, they have exclusive access to everything in house, and
Yep.
what they can reveal about what the experience is like for the players, the team
Mhm.
storytelling, or whatever nuggets of information make it feel like I can't get that information anywhere else. It's just
Right.
hugely powerful motivator from an engagement perspective.
Exactly.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, and I think kind of switching gears a little bit, one of my favorite spaces to always talk about with individuals like yourself is thinking about how we treat SMS as a distinctly different
Mm.
channel. I think the biggest temptation I see marketers have is that they treat SMS almost as a copy and paste interaction from email into
Mm.
I feel like it does the channel such a disservice in many ways. So you've been managing SMS program for a long time, so
Mhm.
I would love to get your perspective. How do you view SMS as a different channel than email, and what does a great SMS campaign really look like from your perspective?
Yeah, I view it differently from the standpoint. Now we send out a lot of campaigns, and some of them are more nurture, but I like to think of it as we're basically trying to get as much of an instantaneous response that we can get, whether that's someone buying something directly online or someone engaging with something. They may not buy directly online, but we can push them to our sales team to be reached out to. So I like to think of it as just trying to get an instant reaction. And that could be, again, someone engaging directly with the link, or even us asking, who's your favorite Buck of all time, like we did on Valentine's Day a few years ago, and getting those responses, or even asking people to reply with a certain keyword. So, but again, that all kind of boils down to instantly wanting to hear from our fans. So I like to think of it in that realm. And then I really like to think of it as it's like the bridge between social and email, to where it can be somewhat conversational, but also in a way be transactional, and kind of trying to bridge the gap between those two, just given the nature of the channel itself.
I love that. I love that you talk about how, one, it's a conversational platform in which we can learn about what fans really want or what fans may want in the future simply just by asking them. I feel like SMS has such a unique ability to capture information quickly and create diverse experiences based off of a single response. So, I love that approach and I love that mindset. And, the other thing that you touched on was capturing attention immediately is something that is unique to SMS, in that if you're sending an SMS message, in all likelihood, 90+% of the people who receive that are going to open it within about 15 minutes, which is an extraordinary opportunity when you think about, how do I ensure that when I send a message, it's going to be relevant to the fan experience and it's going to drive that instantaneous value where I generate a response of some kind, whether it's clicking through a link or providing information back to the Bucks.
Right. And I would say too, the campaigns that stand out to me that we've sent, some of it is not even about how much revenue did we drive. It's how much brand did we actually build, and how much of a relationship did we actually build. I can think of a campaign we actually just sent out, and we basically had, here's the Bucks summer tour. Here is where the Bucks will be throughout the state of Wisconsin. We're not asking people to buy anything. We're not asking people to get merch for a certain holiday or a certain game day. We're simply saying, hey, we'll be throughout the state. We want to see you at some point throughout the summer. And I think that, and I actually look at the replies from time to time, and just some of the responses, like people just have a different level of excitement. And I think people are, I don't want to use the word receptive, but when they're not being asked to buy something, then again, it kind of just builds the relationship and people's love for the Bucks, especially now at a point where it is the off season. And of course, there are rumors and murmurs everywhere regarding our team. But when it's just about what the Bucks mean to someone and just being able to cultivate that relationship over time, especially during the off season, like I said, it's pretty crucial.
Absolutely. And relationship building is everything in sports when you want to feel like you're so transactional to go drive ticket sales or merchandise sales, establishing a connection with a fan on an individual level to say, here's how you can connect with the team on a deeper level, and using those levers you have as working on the professional sports team side rather than, a media outlet covering the team. You can really pull on those heartstrings with fans, or pull on, the uniqueness of being within a professional sports organization to drive that deeper fan engagement. So I love that approach.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, very cool. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I think too, one of my favorite questions I like to ask on the podcast is thinking about game-changing tactics for email and SMS. I think we all get into the temptation, and we all always have the need to go send the next ticket sales email, or send the next merchandise email, or think about, doing the same sort of tactics for SMS as well. Love, from your perspective and your time since you've joined the organization, are there any game-changing tactics or strategies that you've explored that really have driven impact for your email or SMS programs?
Yeah, so this was a few summers ago. We were running into some hurdles around, okay, we run these selected seat events where we allow people to come to an event, meet with the sales rep, see seats for themselves right in Pfizer Forum. But as you know, we're running a business 24/7, 365. There's concert shows, special events, company outings taking place inside Pfizer Forum. So availability, it's not always the cleanest, especially too if you're working on very short turnaround times. So for us, we came up with the idea of, okay, well, let's run a virtual selected seat event. People can still purchase seats that they would be able to purchase in person online. And let's actually use this as a lead generation tactic. Let's allow our sales team to be on call when this virtual selected seat event goes on. You don't have to worry about show rate. You don't have to worry about cost because the infrastructure is built for people to purchase tickets already. And you really just need to have sales reps following up to see how people's purchase is going or how they can help them get down the funnel. And we've seen an immense level of success when it comes to running these virtual select seat events, just because, again, it cuts down on the cost of, I would say, really labor, and knowing we don't have to have as many folks like, oh, go to the arena at this time during these hours. Like, we have these virtual selected seat events right during a normal workday, and the internal theme or branding that day is like, one of our sales reps calls VSAS. So I think that actually has been a huge moment for us, being able to sell at any point, and we're not beholden to a certain time of the year. We can run these virtual select seat events when we want, like where we want and how we want.
That's a really smart approach. I really like that because you talk about reducing friction internally, but it's also a friction reduction externally too for fans, because when you think about the experience that they have, you think about they need to go travel to the stadium and identify which seat they want to pick out and plan accordingly around that, versus a virtual event. They could go within the comfort of their own home or on the go and just think about, okay, well, this seat looks great for me. I can go select this seat and move on with my day. And I think it's a huge enabler for the fan experience and you all internally. So I could see that being an absolutely slam dunk tactic. That's great.
Absolutely.
Love that. What do you think one area of email or SMS marketing do you think professional sports teams are sleeping on? Where do you think they should be investing more of their time?
I would probably say efficiency.
Okay.
So, as you know, most sports teams, especially if you're looking at email marketing teams and departments, very small. So we're a small but mighty team of 4 individuals. Myself, we have an email marketing coordinator, Jasmine, senior customer data specialist, Rachel, and then our department head, Ben. But that's 4 full-time employees. And when I mean we cover a lot, I mean we cover everything from lead generation to email marketing to marketing automation. Like, it really spans a wide spectrum of digital marketing activities. So with all of that said, I think it's important for sports teams to really buckle down and think about, and I know it sounds so cliche, like how can we be more efficient, which would allow us to be more effective. But I think it's actually looking at what are the tools that we're using now. Are these the right tools that we should be utilizing? Are there better tools out there that could allow us to do X amount more work in X amount of time? And even looking at the tools that are currently in your tech stack, just understanding, just because you've been with a certain brand and using a certain tool for a certain amount of time, you don't want to rest in your laurels and just use it because you've always used it. Like, actually take the time to identify, are these the right tools? Or two, like sometimes you may have overlap with tools to where you could find use cases in one tool and maybe not use another tool as much, or period. So I think it's keeping all of that in mind, so that hopefully too, you could take that money that you were using, maybe you could use it for an add-on for a tool that you really do find useful, and just figuring out good ways to use budget in a different way.
That makes perfect sense. And you touched on something really important there when you think about efficiency, and that teams, like you said, are mighty but small. And so when you think about identifying the right path to achieving the outcomes you're looking to achieve, you need to be as efficient as possible in doing that. So always evaluating what your tool set looks like, and always identifying whether you have the right people and processes to take advantage of the tool sets that you have in place is so critical for sports teams. So constantly being in evaluation mode to say, are our processes aligned with the outcomes we're trying to achieve given the resources we have available? That's such a critical part of, operating within professional sports organization day to day. Has there been any tools or processes that you feel like have really increased your efficiency recently?
Yeah, now this goes back 3.5 years ago. And I'm not just saying that I don't want it to be like sponsor of the next shop talk, because there is a sponsor already, but we use an email builder tool called Stencil. And prior to using this tool, we were building out emails using an HTML editor. So as you can imagine, when it's one or maybe a few people building out emails, but it's not drag and drop, that definitely became a headache because we weren't able to be as efficient as we wanted to be. And then as a result of using this tool, Stencil, to build our emails, we have really been able to grow and build the number of emails that we build on a day-to-day basis, allow them to still stay on brand. We've even been able to decentralize the email build process to where we have members of our G League team building out campaigns using this tool. And then on top of it, the tool that we use to build emails, we're even able to build out some of our landing pages. And I think it kind of like full circle, it goes back to trying to be efficient, trying to be effective, seeing the tools that you do have, how you can best utilize them. So then hopefully you have even more engaging campaigns because you're able to send out that many more campaigns to that many more people using the other tools in our tech stack.
Love that. Content definitely drives engagement. So if you're able to produce content more efficiently, it's definitely going to be better outcomes. So I love that.
Exactly.
And we'll wrap up here too. So if you're speaking with an email or SMS marketer in the professional sports space, what's your number one piece of advice you'd give to them to try to grow fan engagement or ticket sales or any other outcomes that you typically are aligned on in professional sports?
This is really, I feel like, an old business adage, but you have to spend money to make money. So that's one thing I feel like I quickly realized when it came to running SMS marketing campaigns. Like, there is a cost associated with all the campaigns that we run, but the returns that we get on the campaigns, they're honestly through the roof. But it kind of goes back to, if you want to see returns, you have to first do something to get fans to engage in the first place. And I would say even too, from like a human capital standpoint, you may need to build out your team, grow your team, if you want to be able to build out more campaigns that meet the mark of what your organization wants, which then in turn hopefully allows your customers to engage more, buy more, consume more, and really express their fandom even more down the road. So you got to spend money to make money.
That's a great tip and great life advice too, because when you think about it for the email and SMS space, I think one of the misunderstandings about the space, if you don't work in digital marketing, is that email and SMS feel free because you bought the tool and you already have the people. So it feels like you can just send as many emails or SMS messages as you want. And
right.
Just not the case, not only from a hard cost perspective, but on a soft cost perspective too. If you think about the people and process and everything it goes to getting campaign out the door, it's a huge investment of time and energy, let alone the cost to actually deploy that message from a software perspective as well. So, I think in general, that's also good advice, but also thinking about this email and SMS lens, that's really pertinent too. So,
and two, I would say, on top of that, not being afraid to venture into new waters. So before we launched our SMS program, like I mentioned, we had not run SMS with the Bucks ever before. And just like any process where you're trying to get something new off the ground, there will always be roadblocks, whether it's roadblocks on your marketing team roadblocks with your compliance team, which I hope there are roadblocks, because that's what they're there to help you make sure you don't endure future roadblocks after you sign. But it's just understanding that you may run into roadblocks, but you have to vet these tools so that you can use them most properly. But then again, at the end of the day, making sure you're not afraid to even go down a path of vetting tools or trying to try the new third party to engage fans more, and just keeping, again, all of that in mind. Because I feel like too, when it comes to marketing, part of it is how innovative do we want to be, or do we want to stick with what we know and what we have?
It's a great mindset. Experimentation is so important in marketing. And I feel like at the end of the day, we're all, in essence, conducting a very large scale lab experiment as marketers.
Right.
Think about engaging with fans, and that you try messaging, you see what resonates, you look at the analytics and say, did that work or did that not? And you adjust what your messaging is moving forward. So having the mindset of continuously evolving your approach and continuously thinking about new ways to accomplish your goals is, a great mindset. I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Justin, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing some
Of course.
amazing insights about your program, you and your background. Really appreciate your time. Listeners, that's all for now. So until next time, we'll see you on the next Chalk Talk presented by Bear Mail.